Good afternoon, and welcome to the monthly ISM Rochester Lunch and Learn webinar series. Please be sure to ask our speaker any questions you might have using our chat or Q&A, and we'll definitely get into your question or your comment as soon as we can take a break from the presentation itself. Our topic for today's discussion is coaching in a changing business climate, which I think is a really important topic to bring to our ISM community. And our featured speaker will be Amy Frakes, who is the Global Category Lead for Global Procurement for Corteva Agrisciences. In her role, Amy leads the global maintenance, repair, and operations site services teams responsible for sourcing, negotiation, supplier relationship management, customer relationship, and strategies supporting Corteva. Amy is also an Vision Evolution certified coach. So at this time, I would like to turn the program over to Amy.
Thank you so much, Kathy. It's my pleasure to be here today and to talk a little bit about coaching. As we all know, we're engaged in very challenging business environments today. And it's good to remember our basic coaching as well as coaching for ourselves and for our teams. So I always like to start with a quote and talking about ROI. I found it really interesting that Accenture had a really interesting quote about return on investment for coaching. Increasing $30 to $60 million worth of savings because you're coaching your top 200 executives, that's pretty impactful. So I always enjoy doing a quote to start us off. So a little bit about coaching and mentoring. Kathy indicated that there have been several coaching conversations before. So just to talk about a little bit more, coaching can be short-term. It's not the same as mentoring. And coaching is really about asking a lot of open-ended questions, as well as trying to ensure that people are heard and that you draw conclusions and take people to their journey. Most important thing for me that I've learned is equilibrium. How are you balancing your work life? Whereas mentoring is talking about your work and how are you doing and how do you move ahead and performance. Coaching is really about where are we at emotionally and dealing with the times that are happening today. Get my slides moving here. So how does coaching align in the corporate world? Coaching is really that focus on self and entering into this state of equilibrium where you're not having wild swings and you're approaching things thoughtfully. For individuals who work on our teams, that coaching aspect that we take to them leads them to feel less, it makes them feel like they're less on the spot. When you have an employee that's exhibited bad behavior or has done a fabulous job, giving them the coaching feedback to help reinforce positive or to help lead them to how something could have been done better is much easier than giving directives. And we get a better way of having our employees respond to us during our time. So I think for me, the most important thing is unbiased feedback, making sure that people see you not as only as a leader, but also see you as someone who is unbiased and really wants to work with that person and help them continue to explore new pathways. So today's business climate, wow. I mean, just this morning, I've experienced so much change already in just a few short hours. So yes, today I had to coach myself back to equilibrium because of a changing business climate. So job changes, reorganizations. I'm sure everyone on this call is going through reorganizations now. We're hearing peers and friends and family that have experienced job eliminations. We're seeing, the future. What's the future look like for business? Things are moving so fast and there's so much competition. And COVID really taught us a lot about what changes can happen in the future so quickly. And then what happens if you are eliminated from your job, or your job is sent overseas and all of a sudden you're left with what do I do next? So starting over from a positive perspective as opposed to focused on it from a very negative experience. So tips for leaders. I always like to start with leadership because we suffer and we empathize with our employees. None of us are immune. So having empathy and understanding is so important in our day-to-day roles, but don't add fuel to the situation by becoming emotional. It's really important for you to not only be able to coach someone around you, but also coach yourself to not become emotionally involved to the point where you become charged. Most companies have EAP, and we forget about that. And I have forgotten about that in the past as a manager, that I need to remind my employees that they can also go use EAP. So it's a great resource. It helps us when we're emotional, and it's a great coaching tool. Take a break. This is what I did this morning. Take a step away from your desk, get a cup of coffee, go see your work buddy. Reframe what's happened that has upset you emotionally or what has upset your employee. If you have an employee sitting across from you who's getting emotional, take that time to take a break. It's okay to suspend a one-on-one with an employee or a coaching session with an employee for everybody to take a break and reframe and refocus. That's going to lead to a much more successful outcome for all parties. Then ask yourself, what can I control? None of us can control everything. So can we focus and have our employees focus on what we can control in our sphere? And that, I think, is something we forget a lot. We have a tendency to react, but bring yourself back to center and say, what are the things that I can impact and control around me that can make this better? And then lastly, self-care. I am constantly preaching to folks around me to remember to do self-care, not only for themselves, but for their families and work-life balance. But as a leader, are you taking that time to practice your self-care and to do those things that bring you back to your center? So I highly encourage self-care, especially during these challenging times. And self-care can be whatever you want it to be. For some of us, it's getting our nails done. For others of us, it's taking a walk during lunch. Other folks find it refreshing to bring a book and find a quiet spot in the office and read during our lunch for a half hour. So do the things that recharge you and make self-care important in your day and important in your employees as well as your coachees' days. So really wanted to just kind of stop at that point, and then open it for dialogue for anyone who has particular things that have worked for them or if they have coaching questions. So Kathy, I'll turn that back over to you.
Okay, if anybody has any questions or any experiences that you've had in the past, maybe that we could actually open it up to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to ask you one question. You did mention EAP. I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
EAP is usually an employee assistance program. Most companies have them, allowing individuals to seek professional input outside of the company. And I find it's a valuable toolkit. And, you know, the funny thing about coaching is not everybody realizes the best coaches actually have coaches. And a lot of them are EAP based, employee assistance based coaches to kind of help keep us all balanced.
And what if you don't have that particular support in your organization?
There's a great organization that's a not-for-profit called NAMI. It's the National, I forgot what the A is, but it's a mental health organization that's in the United States. And they're very focused on having volunteers that can help support those of us in the community that don't have EAP.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come on screen because we're having a conversation here.
We are. It's all good.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I know you talked about self-care as well. I know you said, you know, if you get your nails done, you want to take a walk. What are some other things that we could be doing for ourselves on a daily basis that we're probably not doing? Is meditation part of that as well?
Meditation, a lot of people find exercise, that daily exercise routine, really important for self-care. Others find it reconnecting with friends and family. Some of the closest friends I have, for them, it's keeping a journal, and journaling what's making me upset today, or why am I emotionally, um, charged. And it's really kind of great because people get a chance to really start to figure out, hey, this self-exploration, this self-ideation, they really start to see the things that charge them. And those are the people I love to coach, because they're self-aware, and you really can make a lot of headway together.
Can you tell us a little bit about the organization you're with the coaching?
Sure. So Envision Evolution Coaching is founded by Jennifer Torres and Ann Quinlan. They're out of Florida, and I found them about 3 years ago. And I have a coach, and she was part of the teaching staff for this organization. They are certified through the International Coaching Federation. So taking those classes allows me to gain an ACC, an associate coach, certified coach certification globally. And it changed my entire world to go through those coaching classes. I learned a lot about not only coaching myself, coaching others, and recognizing when I would bring frustration into the office. And since then, it's really kind of weird. I feel very zen a lot.
So if somebody out here would like to actually be a coach,
Mhm.
what kind of recommendations would you give to them? Because I would think we would need more coaches out there for the workforce.
Yes. I would encourage you to really explore your coaching options. There are formal classes. Some people just go out and begin coaching. Some may be HR professionals or former chief procurement officers that have had a lot of experience. But I encourage the going out and getting some professional training in this space, because you really do learn about a lot about yourself and about your style.
So with the way that, our environment is now today, is it more virtual coaching or is it a lot hands-on coaching that you're doing?
Great question. I'm doing a lot of both. And it's kind of funny because as I also have one-on-ones with my employees, I find myself transitioning into coaching role, not leader role, not manager role. So it's very easy to switch gears, but a lot of mine has been face to face. I've had a lot of people actually coming for coaching on how do I write a resume? How do I do interviews? How do I explain gaps in my employment? How do I answer these questions of what I'm looking for in an environment without turning off a potential employer? So that's really where I've spent a lot of time the last year, with just the changing business climate with us coming out of COVID.
Wow. Yeah, there have been a lot of challenges. What other challenges have you seen that you've actually had to guide people through?
I think it's probably some of the most challenging times have been when someone's lost a close family member and they're finding it hard to stay motivated every day to do their job because it's been such a trauma event. And I've also found when people have lost their job involuntarily that those are very traumatizing events. And I think it took me about 3 years after I had been let go from a job because of downsizing to realize that it is trauma and people do have PTSD from something like that. And just remembering to focus and remembering to help people realize that sometimes a door opens when something like that happens, but it is personal when it's something, when you're losing a position or you've lost a family member. It's very personal, and work is not going to be your priority. So how do you help support that person and coach them to realize that mourning is a good thing and you can move on from mourning? So it's challenging. I mean, trauma, we do have trauma in the workplace, both from a manager perspective and from employee perspectives.
Are you seeing what changes are you seeing as far as the war on talent that has been so reported and the Great Resignation?
The Great Resignation is still ongoing. This morning, for me, one of my best employees accepted a job outside of the company and called to tell me, which I wanted to cry. And then I realized, if you're going to cry about this, you need to cry tears of joy, because he has found something that he really wants to do. He is very excited, very motivated, and it puts him in a better family situation with his children. So as much as I hate it for me, I'm just so excited for him. But good people are switching companies. So culture is so important, because people aren't looking at the money anymore. They're not looking at benefits. They're happy breaking even on their financials if they go to a company that has a better environment. How to give people better environment? We offer coaching. We offer opportunities to do mentoring. You help people grow what really fires them. Like coaching really fired me up. And doing that and motivating myself to get the certificate means that I'm now bringing something positive to the culture that maybe wasn't here before.
So say, and we have a lot of the more emerging professionals out there.
Mhm.
And, you're just starting a new company. How do you find someone, because you're probably not going to know
Right.
where to actually look for these resources? I mean, we have people on the call that are going to hear things, but what do you do if you're like brand new to that organization and you're, and trying to figure out what type of person should be your coach, and how does that all mesh together as far as finding the coach that's right for you? Because I would think there'd be issues where sometimes it's not a good fit.
Yep. I always joke that therapy and coaching are both like dating. You're going to go on a lot of dates before you find the person you want to have a second or third date with. And that's okay, because not everybody's a fit. I would say if you're new to a company, I would encourage you to look for a coach that's maybe outside the company, or in a similar business that you can connect with on LinkedIn, and use the International Coaching Federation website to find coaches in your area. I also encourage people, if they're really looking for someone internal, make sure that they're asking for a coaching relationship, not a mentoring relationship. And your local HR should know who in your company has coaching as one of their strong skill sets.
Can you describe for the audience, what is the difference? Because, you've heard them all. You've heard coaching, you heard coaches, you heard advisors, sponsors, and then you hear, let me see, mentors.
Yep. So let me go back to that slide. Let me pull that back up.
Yeah, just so that they have an idea.
Absolutely. So mentoring is sometimes usually a senior leader who takes someone under their wing and wants them to have certain experiences in a career path. So that to me is mentoring. Mentoring is also more directive, and you're helping provide someone input on what their career looks like. Coaching is really about non-directive and using open-ended questions to help people draw their own conclusions. My best example is going through class. I would coach my peers, and I struggled with that because here were people just like me trying to learn, and I was supposed to help coach them and become a masterful coach. And being recorded on top of it was really challenging. So, but as you start to get comfortable with asking open-ended questions, you can really draw people to their own conclusions and help them see the path. A lot of times our path is right in front of us. We've just let barriers get in the way. Coaching helps remove those barriers. Mentoring is, like I said, much more guiding. Sponsorship is very different in corporate America. Sponsorship is really about putting someone that you are mentoring into the right position because you want them to be able to have either a sense of loyalty, or you've got that business relationship with them and you view that they will be a strong ally.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering because my,
Mhm.
I look at and see how my daughter has gone up in, in her organization, and I always wondered, are the vice presidents that she has one-on-ones all the time? Is it, what type of relationship really is that? Is it? But it sounds like it might be more sponsorship.
Yes, I would say it's probably more mentoring also.
Mhm.
The great news for her is someone has identified her as a high potential candidate, as a leader in the company. So they are giving her that one-on-one time with mentors to learn more about the different parts of the organization, gain different experiences, and have different visibility. And some people will say exposure, but I always like to remind people there's a big difference between exposure and visibility. And exposure to me says you might end up with frostbite. So you're better off to go for visibility, not for exposure.
Wow. Wow. If anybody in the audience has a question or comment, please, please put it in the chat. We really want you to be a part of the conversation here, which is a very interesting conversation. I mean, I'm really floored about some of the people that have been, moving, the relocation. They find a different job in another organization, and some of them are moving. I've heard people moving, out of the country into, other. So that has to be like really difficult decision to make to begin with.
Mhm. I've heard Belize is the new hotspot where people can move. Aruba actually was offering special compensation for people who wanted to work remote in Aruba for a year at a time. They were offering rental packages and specific fiber optics to make life easy. I think that COVID has really changed how people view their work environment. We just now come to the office 3 days a week, and people are not happy. They're like 1 to 2 days, that's it. I'd rather spend a majority of my week at home. And I get it. From an employee perspective, I spend most of my day in Zoom or Teams. So coming to the office, I'm not interacting with anyone but the folks that are on my screen. So makes coaching a little bit more difficult. And it kind of starts to really ask leaders to be examples for their employees on coming to the office and grinning and bearing it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, I'm, in my own office all the time. So I'm not actually in the environment that everybody else is. So, I don't really see everything on a day-to-day basis like I did probably like, I don't want to date myself, but like 20, 30 years ago.
I think
But
we're all in that same boat, Kathy.
but but I would think the hybrid area is very challenging to begin with. Are
It
you
can
finding a
be.
lot of people are looking for more hybrid
Mhm.
advice from you, or are they, or what?
I think employees are looking for hybrid environments because of the work-life balance. And we were all very successful at working from home and getting things done. And I think, one of the things that COVID brought was we spent more time with our families. We found out we actually could talk to our families and enjoy their company when they were the only people we could interact with. And I think now, as you start to take that away from people, the great resignation is happening. You have people who are looking for new opportunities because they want that flexibility. And, that's honestly, that leads stress right back to self care. Our families can recharge us, we can connect with them, and we feel fulfilled and more emotionally balanced spending time with our families as opposed to our work family.
Yeah, definitely. We do have definitely two different types of families out there. Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately, I can't send some of the people in the office to their room and ground them if I need to. I'd like to, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking there's just like there's so many questions I have for you. But again, if anybody has a comment or a question you'd like to put out to Amy, please do so. I mean, this is an open forum. If you want to talk live, let me know, raise a hand, and we'll let you ask your question live. But
I'd be curious to know if any of our participants have coaches today, or have you thought about getting a coach and just, you don't know where to get started, or it's just not something that you've had a positive experience with?
put it in the chat. Does anybody have a coach? Just put it in the chat so we can see, so we'll know what our audience is. And there are just so many variations of what could be going on at this point. And I have seen more and more coaches come out, by the way. I know we did something, I would say, I actually attended one that was probably more coaching from a university perspective.
Okay. All right.
So that was a little bit different. That's what I wanted to ask you is, are there resources, do you know, at universities for our, graduating students?
I believe so. If you look at organizations like Lee Heck Harris, as well as, shoot, I just lost the name of the other one, but there are organizations out there that offer coaching on how to find a job, how to do a resume, how to do interviews. Gosh, I wish I could remember the name of the second one, but it's just totally escaped me. But if you go out and look at job coaching, there's a lot of them out there. Some of them are fly by night, others are very successful at what they do. As far as, do universities have coaches on staff? I think in the career development space, it's not really as much coaching as it is mentoring, actually within the organization of the university.
So are you finding that some of the people that are coming to you are actually looking for more advanced level, and they really need that advice? How do I get to the next tier?
Ironically, I'm finding it mostly to be the 30 and unders who maybe had that help in college. One person is a double major, biology and music. Not sure how those two go together, but they did. And she's been working in the music industry and is realizing she can't afford to live by working at the theaters and by doing music therapy. So now she's focused on, okay, I need to get back to the basics of my biology degree so I can afford to indulge in my passion of music after hours.
Wow.
So taking that resume and shifting the focus, and making potential employers understand that, this is now where I'm refocusing my energy and my passion.
So how often do you think we should take a little shakeup of our resumes?
I honestly keep mine updated every quarter, and that is just something that I've always done. And I also use it as my framework for when I'm doing my annual review write-up. I have that resume I can go back to, and I can go back and look at the quarters and know what I did each quarter.
Are there any other tips you can give us that might be good to polish up other things that we might have?
I would definitely do my resume once a year, make sure it's reflective. I also would make sure that I have not references so much, but people who have been supportive or mentoring in the past, or former bosses that would be happy to go out on LinkedIn and give you an endorsement. The LinkedIn page is so important anymore. Most job recruiters are looking at LinkedIn, and that's how people get contacted out of the blue.
Okay, so you really feel we've got to update not only our resume in our computer, we've got to update our resume on LinkedIn.
Yes. And there's a little button where your employer won't know that you can click, and it says allow recruiters to contact me. And I will tell you, if you turn that on, it'll spike the first couple months, and then it kind of slows down, but you will still get random calls from recruiters who want to talk to you based on your experiences.
So as far as social media like LinkedIn, what tips do you have for our audience about really? So we really have to like put our brand out there.
Yes. I always remind people to give facts and data. Look for data points. Like if you know that you had a team of 26 people and you grew that by 10%, put that out there. If you saved $5 million last year on one project, put that out there. Even if it's a confidential project, you can put in there, confidential project saved X amount of dollars for the company. Employers are looking for the facts and data. They just don't want to see the words. They want to see the actions that you took. Using action words is really important. And if it's not your current position, make sure that you're using past tense and talk about what you delivered, not just what I deliver. And that, I think, makes a huge difference. That makes people realize that you're paying attention to your words.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, and I just did something really cool this week that I don't know if anybody else has done it yet, but I actually created my own business card on a QR code and had it printed on a sticker and put it on my back of my business phone. So talking about putting out your brand when you go to a conference, instead of carrying a stack of business cards, someone can just snap your QR code and it'll load right into your phone or their phone. And people will remember that you had your own QR code as a business card.
When I went to the ISM conference, a few people did that. So where exactly did you find that?
So I found a website that allowed me to do a free QR code. And then I just went to my local printer and had them printed on a sticker.
Huh.
It took
Nice.
me literally 5 minutes. But now when I go to a conference, instead of having to fumble for business cards or run out, I have everything right here.
Well, I'm thinking because of our environment, not everybody wants to have business cards anymore.
Right. Because then this is a touchless situation.
Exactly. That's what I'm hearing more and more. Plus, we want to be sustainable. We don't want to have extraneous printing for no reason. Any other areas that you would like to mention to the audience before we close out?
Network. And if you have opportunities, like Kathy, I appreciate having this speaking opportunity and to share some of my thoughts and experiences with everyone. If you have opportunities to go out and do speaking engagements in your community, go do it, because you never know who you're going to meet, who's going to impact your path, or who may be a coach or a mentor, or who you might connect with that's going to bring some positive influence into your path. So I just did one last Thursday with SAP, talking about interactions with legal and how do you remove barriers and streamline. And met some amazing people who are interested in learning more and sharing their thoughts and ideas.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So you do encourage, doing presentations, get yourself out there. Yeah. So
even if you don't want to, even if you're not looking to leave your company, just to connect with others in your space, like ISM is a great way to network and a great way to meet others in your space who are going through some of the same struggles, especially during these challenging business environments. The biggest form of flattery is replication of somebody else's great idea.
Yeah. I mean, because I feel that a lot of people, I think we did more connecting online the last few years than we have prior to the pandemic.
I agree.
And a lot of and get out to the conferences too. I mean, if you feel comfortable enough to go to a conference, that is a great opportunity for you as well. I would definitely, agree to that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's important. It's important to get out there. So if anybody has anything they want to put in the chat before we close out, please put something out there. And any challenges that you see for individuals with coaching at all that or obstacles that they might come, or do you think they have any problems with management or any of that type of stuff?
I will just say that coaching has to be an acceptance on both sides. If you are coaching, you have to accept that it's not going to be perfect. And you're going to have days where you're a great coach and days when you're not a great coach. And that's how you learn how to be better. If you are interested in being coached, be open. Don't say, well, I'm just going to do this because I can check the box. Be open to being self-aware and to look at change within yourself and change with those around you.
So how do you get that commitment?
It's a great question. And most professional coaches will actually do a coaching agreement in your first 1 or 2 sessions. And it's a clear agreement of, this is what I, as a coachee, want to get out of it. This is what, and this is my parameters. And the coach will come back and say, I agree with this and this, but can we talk about this? So having that clear coaching agreement from very early in the relationship is key.
Yeah, I know we tried to do this in one of the other chapters, and we did have a problem because it seemed like the commitment was all on the coach, but not as much on the person that was being coached.
Yes.
They would miss appointments, so forth. So it doesn't, it's really a commitment on both parts, and you really have to be committed to the relationship.
You do. And I have friends that will approach me for coaching, but they don't want coaching. What they want me to do is tell them from a leadership standpoint and a mentoring standpoint, this is what you ought to do. And I'm like, that's not coaching. Your coaching is me asking you the questions to help you better understand what you want to do and how to get there. It's not me telling you. So that's been a huge challenge when people are like, oh, you're a coach, come coach me. Let's put the parameters around this first.
A little bit different. So let me ask you a question. So say we're doing our first session. What are some of the typical questions you would actually ask somebody?
My first questions are really about, what do you know about coaching? What makes you seek coaching? And how do you think coaching is going to help you? And then really kind of help people articulate what their thoughts are. And usually, within the first 4 to 5 minutes if somebody's going to be open or closed as far as coaching, and also whether or not your personality clicks. So back to dating, you're not gonna click with every single person that you try to coach. So it's okay for you to say, gee, Mr. or Mrs. Coach, I really appreciate today's session. I just don't think we connect as far as personality or communication style. And that's okay. That's totally okay. Then you go to the next coach and you say, okay, do I connect with this person better? Because that connection is so important.
So how long is a coaching agreement for?
It can be whatever you decide. The coachee may just have a particular situation they need coaching with. Other coaching relationships, mine's gone on for 6 years.
Wow.
But
Wow.
it's because she has also been a teacher and a coach, and she still helps me with once in a while when I get in a quandary and I'm coaching someone and I'm like, I need to ask the person who's more of a professional than I am, what did I do wrong, or how do I fix this? So
wow. I really think, we all, sometimes I think I actually have coaches, but I don't even know it.
Yep.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah, there's always people that are in, your realm that, are giving you advice a lot. They are probably coaching. I don't know if it's considered coaching or mentoring at that point, but I feel that they're, you do have a lot of supportive people behind you. And just keeping them in your circle, I think, is like the important thing, especially as you said, you have like a situation, a work situation, or there could be some sort of a conflict between two workers that you more or less really need help with, I would think, right? What other kinds of situations do you see that we could actually share with the audience to let them know how valuable this could be?
Oh, so many of them. I have had situations where I've had one of my employees and then someone else's employee not get along, and they're supposed to be working together, and they had a shouting match in the office, and I had to go referee. And it was getting them both to sit down and look at each other and say, okay, how do we solve this? What really is the underlying issue? And it turns out they were agreeing, but their language usage was so different that they were missing each other. But once you took the emotion out of the situation and really got them back both to center of equilibrium to say, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to accomplish? And where's the gap between the two? And how do we reach that middle ground? And it was very successful because we didn't operate with emotion. We started talking about facts and data. And that, I think, was the key to that situation. And these were two men who were older than I am. that were arguing and screaming in the office. And I was like, ooh, time out. So, I just think that's so important to be able to get people to calm down and have a rational conversation. That's half the battle with coaching sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I would think so. And I would think there would be a lot more situations now because
Yes.
a lot of people are very politically charged as well.
Oh, yes. We're not even going to get into that because
No, no.
I give coaching at home about that all the time.
Well, actually, we're at like 45 minutes. I don't
Okay.
know if you have any other comments you want to mention oh, do you have, I know you mentioned one of the websites to go to. Can you
Mhm.
mention that again, just in case anybody
Sure.
missed it?
It's ICF.com, and it's the International Coaching Federation. They are a global organization that is very rigorous with their testing and their certifications. And each state or each region will have their own chapter, and you can go out and find out who in your area is coaching.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming to us today, Doran. I hope everybody learned a little bit today. If you have any, questions, please let us know.
Mhm.
We will be having this recording available to everybody. So if you would like to share with your colleagues, we definitely encourage you to do that as well. But at this time, I'm going to, actually, I have like one announcement I have to make.
Awesome.
Okay. I would like to mention that next week, ISM Rochester will be having their membership meeting. It's going to be on Thursday, October 20th. It's at 6 o'clock. And the topic is going to be persuasion. So
Ooh.
another good topic. This is going to be part one of a part two series. And our speaker is going to be Lynn Wicklander, who will be returning. She spoke for the group last year as well. So we want to encourage everybody to register for that as well. So at this point, I'd like to say thank you, Amy. Thank you to our guests who are all of our members who showed, who actually attended the program today. We appreciate you coming. And at this point, I'd like to say thank you for coming and everyone have a great day. And thank you again, Amy.
Oh, thank you for having me.